Sometimes you forget what a truly great singer sounds like. In 2024, there's very few great singers in pop and R&B. That's why I love Die With a Smile so much, because Bruno Mars is a great singer and Lady Gaga is a great singer. But that's rare. But then I'm reminded of the greatness of Kelly Clarkson. So Kelly Clarkson, with her talk show, she does Kellyoke, which is kind of like a reminder of her American Idol past. And she starts the show off and she sings a song for like a minute and a half. So I haven't seen her in a while. And I was scrolling through on X and I saw her rendition of All By Myself. And it was amazing. You forget how great she is as a vocalist. Like, she has this great Christmas song out that came out a couple years ago I love so much. It's a great Christmas song. But when you listen to her sing All By Myself, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. That's why she won American Idol the first season. That's why she had a string of hits. And she hasn't lost anything on her vocals. Sometimes when a person sings really, really well, they kind of sometimes push themselves and they lose a little bit of their vocal. She hasn't lost anything. Kelly Clarkson is probably, of the past 20 years, she's probably one of the greatest singers of her generation. Like, if I have to think about it off the top of my head, it's like Clarkson, Adele, Christina Aguilera. I'll throw Mariah in there because Mariah was still hitting early in the decade of the early 2000s. Demi Lovato, and Ariana Grande. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. And on the R&B side, I mean, if you want to throw Jasmine Sullivan in there, but there's not a lot of great female singers on the R&B side. So, yeah, so All By Myself is a tremendous. If I'm Kelly Clarkson's team, I'm trying to get her into the studio to make a full-length version of that song and put it out there. Because I guarantee you, if Kelly Clarkson put a full version of All By Myself out there, it'll be number one someplace in the world. Might be here in America, but here, Japan, England, Spain, Germany, that thing is destined to be number one if she goes back into the studio. In fact, she should just put out a whole album of Kellyoke covers. I think they would do really well. But the one thing that's been irking me about this is, like, right here, it says Kelly Clarkson delivers a spectacular cover of Celine Dion's All By Myself. Now, listen, I love the Celine Dion version, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But Celine Dion did not create that song. That song was created by Eric Carmen, Cleveland's own Eric Carmen, who recently passed away. He did that song back in 1974. And while Celine's version and Kelly's version are powerhouse renditions, Eric's original version is very somber, and it's touching, and it's quite depressing, but it's a brilliant song. Someone said in that time period, you had Eric Carmen and Karen Carpenter, and they were great of making very depressing songs sound beautiful. And they're absolutely right. Shout out to Karen Carpenter and the Carpenters. So the thing about All By Myself, when you hear the song, it feels like Eric Carmen's in a bar by himself, playing the piano, just feeling despondent, depressed over the life that he lived. Like he was saying, like, I used to have fun with a lot of these women. Now they're all gone. Like, here's a guy that doesn't have no family, no friends, no nothing. And he's saying, all by myself. I don't want to be all by myself, because he lived a life of just being careless, or he just lived a life of just pushing people away. And now he's by himself and he doesn't know what to do. And someone wrote in the comments and said, this song is very reflective of people who are shy, or who are, who's very insular in their feelings. And I'm kind of like that. Like, I'm a shy guy. And I do go inside I'm a Cancer, so I kind of go inside my shell a lot. And when I'm despondent and I'm having a bad time, I break that song out. And it's probably not good for my mental health to listen to that song, but it puts me in a mindset of, dude, if you keep on being this way, if you keep on being shy or pushing people away or not connecting with people, you're going to end up all by yourself. And these are things that I've struggled with since I was a kid. And sometimes you just can't, there's parts of your life that you kind of break out from. It's like, oh, I'm getting better. And then you kind of go back into your shell. It's like, I can't. I've always was amazed by people who had a ton of friends or who's able just to connect with people all automatically. It's like, man, how did they do that? But I've never been that guy. I'm just been kind of, it takes me a while to warm up to people. And then try to keep those people, in your life. It's always been kind of like something I need to work on. So yeah, when I'm despondent, I listen to that song. But man, it's a great song. Now, in the way that song fades out, like you hear the drums are fantastic, the string, the slide guitar is fantastic, and just the way Eric Carmen keeps on singing this, like all by myself, I don't want to be. You just feel like this dude. He wants to get out of this situation. He wants to be more connected to people, but he just doesn't know how. So that song is fantastic. We flash forward to 1996. Celine Dion does her cover of All By Myself. Let me tell you something. That's her version is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Like when I was during that time period, I was working at my job at Firestone, and most of those young folks were in the back because we were all in our 20s, and the older folks were in the front. And usually most folks were like around 40, 50 years old. But when you're in your early to mid 20s, you think everybody's old. So they knew I was a DJ back then. And they said, hey, Kevin, who you think is the best singer right now? And that was like 96. And at that point, I said, oh, probably Mariah Carey. Like, I love Whitney Houston, but right now it's Mariah Carey. And one of the ladies said, oh, well, I really like Celine Dion a lot. I was like, yeah, she's cool. And that's because I wasn't listening to Celine that much back then. I was like Whitney, Mariah, Janet Jackson, that whole crew back then. So then a year later, Celine puts out the Titanic song. I said, wow, she's tremendous. Let me go back and listen to her old stuff. And it led me back to first Calling You. I'll make a video about that. Calling You is my favorite Celine Dion song. Jeff Buckley did it before her. Fantastic song. Oh, I love Calling You. But I listened to All By Myself. And the power that she has on that song, the way that song fades out, man, it's all like she holds this note. It's like, my God, like, where did you come from? Her vocals are tremendous, but she's come off that Whitney Mariah tree. And I'll throw in Barbra Streisand. Celine Dion is like the perfect melding of like Barbra Streisand and Whitney Houston. It's just, her vocals are impeccable, man. And where Eric Carmen's All By Myself was almost like he was just introspective in his head because he's trying to figure out what to do with his life. The Celine Dion version is different because it's almost like she's talking to somebody else. She's talking to God. She's talking to somebody else. And she's asking and she's pleading, I don't want to be all by myself. I don't want to live all by myself. It's almost like she's talking. She's pleading for help, where Eric Carmen is almost in his head about this. She's like, I need help. I need your help. How can I don't want to live this way anymore. Oh my, it's a tremendous rendition. And that's the rendition that Kelly Clarkson does to perfection. But man, when you watch that video back in 96, you forget how young Celine was, because Celine was like in her mid to late 20s when she made that song. I know the Titanic song is her biggest song. But for my money, her best vocal is probably All By Myself. Now, it's my second favorite Celine Dion song, but All By Myself is just, man, we just don't have singers like that anymore, man. And that's the problem even with Ariana. Like, Ariana has that type of vocal. The problem is Celine and Whitney and Mariah, and Barbra Streisand, they had producers who knew how to play with their vocal. Like, Adele has great producers. And as much as Christina Aguilera too, she fell into the same thing because they didn't know what to do with Christina Aguilera's voice. It's almost like these producers, it's so frustrating because Christina should have had a string of albums where she was just belting out songs. And Ariana, even though she had big albums like Positions and Dangerously Woman, she doesn't have younger producers who knew, like a Quincy Jones or Eric Martin, who just knew what to do with that vocal, man. So Eternal Sunshine by Ariana is doing well. So I think she's making that turn because of Wicked. But man, when you go back and listen to Celine, shout out to Eric Carmen, rest in peace, sir. Shout out to Celine Dion. If you're a Celine Dion fan, what's your two favorite songs of all time? Mine is Calling You and All By Myself. I don't want to live. I can't even sing it. Can't even sing it. So good. So good.